Now it's live. I'm just going to copy the link for the event, but you can let Hilde in the Zoom session.
Me? So I
Yeah,
host the Zoom now?
Yes, we just let her in so that I have.
Yeah, okay. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, Hilde.
Hi, hi.
Hello, Hilde.
Hi.
You already know Katharina, Willem, and Roswitha, and I'm Helvig. We are the UBI4ALL team. Welcome
Hi.
here.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
And also in the Zoom meeting is Eva Maria.
Yes.
National Coordinator from Hungary. Hi, Eva Maria.
Hello,
Hi, hi.
Maria. Long time no see.
Yes, yes. But congratulations for your post in the BN.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm really enjoying it.
I hope that we can do something together too. We would like to be a members too from Hungary, you know.
Okay, are you not affiliate yet?
Sorry?
Are you not officially an affiliate yet?
No, not yet, not yet.
Oh.
I was talking with Sarat about it, you know, but I will write him again that maybe you can manage that we can have this title, you know. But never mind, we don't have to talk about now this. Good evening, everybody.
We're live, we're live.
So some short explanations. Katharina is doing the technical things in the background on Facebook, preparing, and Roswitha is doing the Facebook, and me the Zoom. And Willem is asking some special questions, I guess.
I'm decorum.
Yeah, and Katharina, you are the moderator interviewing Hilde, right? So you give the go, and then we can start the interview, Katharina, when Facebook is live.
Sure. Sorry. Hi, Hilde. It's already on. I already copied the link for the event, so we are live, so we can start.
We can start. Okay, thank you. Then I will do the entry, so to say. Hello, everybody. Hello, all the UBI fans all over Europe, hopefully. We are here today to have a talk about UBI, and UBI4ALL is the project doing this interview, and the project of UBI4ALL is accompanying the ECI, European Citizen Initiative for UBI in Europe. UBI4ALL wants to give the opportunity to experience life with an unconditional basic income. So once we have gathered 9,600 euro by crowdfunding, we raffle off 800 euros per month for 1 year to every EU citizen above the age of 16 who has registered for our raffle. All of you in the audience, you can help to realize this experience for winners and might also be yourself by donating and or of course registering as participant on our homepage. No other strings attached. The European Citizen Initiative, let me tell you a few words about this, is collecting signatures for UBI, from UBI supporters to get the European Parliament to debate upon the unconditional basic income within the European Union. This initiative needs 1 million signatures all over Europe. So if you also want to support a prosperous future, sign the European Citizen Initiative. It is easy and takes only 3 minutes on the webpage eci-ubi.eu. You will find it also on our homepage from UBI4ALL. So UBI was mentioned quite a lot now by myself, but what difference would it make in the recent circumstances of the pandemic? What could it mean for us individuals in our society? These and other questions will be discussed with our dear guest speaker, Hilde Latour, from the Netherlands. She's vice chair at Basic Income Earth Network, a long-lasting UBI supporter. She's physiotherapist, writer, activist, and facilitator. And she says about herself, she's always in for a spiritual conversation about the present and the future. She sees chaos as a tangle of opportunities and seeks simple solutions for complex problems. A truly unconditional basic income for every single human being is simple, easily affordable, and a smooth way to freedom of choice. I really love this sentence, Hilde. The questions will be asked by Katarina Neves. She's a very dear project colleague of mine in UBI4ALL, and a UBI activist from the bottom of her heart. She's actually doing her PhD in political philosophy in the Center for Ethics, Politics and Society at the University of Minho. I hope I pronounce it well, in Lisbon. And she's doing a thesis on the unconditional basic income and the objection of reciprocity. She's also a researcher on the only Portuguese project on UBI experiments, and she's teaching assistant at the Nova School of Business and Economics in courses of social innovation and global business challenges. So there are two very profound and with profound knowledge and very interesting women now to discuss on the UBI. They will have approximately 30 to 45 minutes for the discussion, and you in the audience, please post your questions in the chat and we will answer them after the interview. So ladies, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Roswitha. Thank you again, Hilde. It's great to have you here today. Thank you so much for the time and for sharing what is your valuable experience as an advocate and as someone who knows UBI very well. Hopefully we'll have a spiritual conversation. I'm not sure if I'm up for the task, but I'll try to do it for sure. So we have lots of questions. I think the audience on Facebook will also have many more to ask you. So I'll try not to hoard all the questions that I have. But we wanted to start with what is a very broad question. And it's basically concerning the context that we are in today. And for sure, a social and economic crisis and of COVID-19. I didn't want to say the name. We are all fed up of saying COVID-19 from this last one year, almost 1 year and a half. But also what is the Sustainable Development Goals and how we know today that they are in the background, but we are lagging a little bit behind or a lot behind in ensuring their fulfillment. So what I wanted to ask you is, do you think a UBI can have a role in our current challenges, but also the global challenges on the background in ensuring that we fulfill the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals?
Yes, thank you, Katrina, and also Roswitha for the very nice introduction. Yes, I mean, it's a very broad question and we are in a very complex world today. I think there are a few things important in the context that we are in now, is that we can also see the limits of basic income, because what a basic income is not going to solve is the freedom of movement that we don't have anymore. The freedom of choice of being tested or vaccinated. That has nothing to do with basic income. The police violence, the government violence that we are facing nowadays. And in a broad sense, I mean, the highest chief of the United Nations, Guterres also mentioned it recently, that we see a very broad violation of human rights. And although basic income is of course related to human rights, there are some human rights that cannot be solved with a basic income. Having said that, I'm still very much in favor of a basic income, of course, and the main argument behind basic income for me personally is that it would give you the freedom of choice that we are all after, and that you can follow your heart and your passion in choosing what kind of activities you can do in your life. Because of the lockdown, we are seeing a huge increase in severe poverty. There is a huge wave of famine coming. We see a huge increase in unemployment, and if we already had a basic income, then many people would have been much more resilient to the lockdown measures that they have implemented. What we're also seeing now is, because of the lockdown, we see an increase, of course, in stress that would be reduced by a basic income. We see an increase in domestic violence, which is partly due to because people are sitting at home all in a small space, but also because of the stress of parents that losing their jobs and losing their patients, basically. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have ever been this close as we are now to have the mindset in people that a basic income is very necessary and a key element to restore what we have lost and move even beyond that. Another main topic, of course, is the planetary integrity that we're facing, the problems with it. There's a lot of discussion about what the effects of a basic income would be on the climate. I don't really like to call it a climate problem. It's more like pollution, destruction, and all that kind of stuff. I think, you cannot expect people that are struggling to survive and fighting against severe poverty to take care of our planet. So if you give people the basis, the fundamentals, and guarantee that they will not fall through the poverty line, then they will be able to take care of themselves and their surroundings, but not when they are struggling to survive. Now, of course, yeah, you mentioned the Sustainable Development Goals. So one of the organizations I work for is focused on the Sustainable Development Goals and in relation to basic income. From the evidence we already know from basic income pilots and cash transfer programs, we already know that the vast majority of the Sustainable Development Goals will benefit from it. It's obvious that goal number 1, no poverty, will be solved almost in an instant if you implement a basic income on a global level. But all the effects, all the poverty-related problems that we have in the world, good education, women empowerment, inequality in general, health and well-being, many of them will benefit from basic income. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we have a choice, and that is a good thing. Basic income is the key to achieve all those Sustainable Development Goals, and well, we were already behind schedule, but just because of the lockdown, we are even further behind now.
Yes. No, thank you very much. I found very interesting that you start with the limitations, because sometimes in discussions of basic income, and I fall right into it, we tend to see that basic income is a panacea. It's going to solve everything. Basic income is going to work in bargaining power of workers. It's going to help feminism. It's going to help all the agendas. But actually, there are things that basic income cannot solve, and that's fine. We don't expect that one simple public policy can do that. We have to focus on the things that it can do, ensure the limits that it has, and what we should do. So I found it very interesting that you started off with that. And so I'm going to propose you to ask something that I wanted to ask later, but is, considering these challenges and some of these limitations, do you see any dangers or backfires in implementing an unconditional basic income? In a sense, what do you think is the important context besides the mindset that we have to have, in which we see, it seems we are closer to having it now, but what are the conditions that should be properly insured for an unconditional basic income to have the positive impact that we are seeing or that we expect to see?
Yeah, well, more and more people approach me with concerns about basic income, and they write to me like, look, you are fighting the wrong fight because the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and his friends are going to implement a conditional basic income, and we will all be dependent on the government and the transnational, the new world order and all that. I mean, I think that is a realistic concern because we do see a total control and social credit systems being implemented as we speak. But what I explain to people then is that, look, if they want to implement a basic income that is conditional, as in depending on your behavior, or things like that, then it is not a basic income, because a basic income is truly unconditional. A basic income, the only condition you have to meet is being human and alive. And it is not more than that. It is as simple as that. So all the undocumented people also have a right to a basic income. And if you know, people with bad intentions implement something that they call basic income, then the term basic income is hijacked. And it is our duty to keep explaining that this is a truly unconditional basic income and this is not a truly unconditional basic income. And the good thing I feel is that, you know, before this, we were discussing about, first it was the effectiveness and it was the affordability. And now we finally can talk about the core characteristic of a basic income, which is the unconditionality. It is an act of unconditional love to every human being on the planet that you don't even know.
Right. Yeah, but some months ago, I was talking with someone who was involved in the Madhya Pradesh experiment, and he was saying a little bit of what you were discussing on the need to talk about the 5 core characteristics of what an unconditional basic income is, and to focus on the unconditionality. Partly because he was seeing moves of hijacking the term. He was seeing political parties finding a way to hijack and use it as a populistic term, because it tends to be very appealing, and I think COVID-19, as you were also saying, can have a role in that. So
let's see it as a compliment that they're hijacking our term, right?
Yes, it's good. It's not bad, but it means, as you were saying, we have to be vigilant, or we have to be advocates in the sense of also arguing on what UBI is, and that seems very, very, very important also. And also wanted to ask you now, in terms of implementation, you are talking about an unconditional act of love for everyone else throughout the world. That seems very, very nice, but that means that you would favor global UBI with all the difficulty in doing that, or would you prefer sort of local UBIs like we are seeing more or less in Maricá, Brazil, and other places? What would you prefer and why?
I would prefer everything, you know, a combination of it.
Okay.
The technology that we have today is ready to implement it on a global scale, right? I mean, we could have a global wealth fund from which we give every single human being on earth some money, but it would be very sustainable if we would also support it from bottom up. So if communities can actually help creating a community dividend, as we call it, you know, something like the casino dividend we have in the United States since the 90s. If we as communities with local businesses can also contribute to a basic income that is therefore supported by the community itself, I think that would give people the feeling that they are really contributing to a basic income as well, and that would make it more sustainable and we would be less dependent on yeah, the changes that you know, where the politicians can change their minds, and you know, it will stay that way. So I think it can go. The best thing would be to have it from all different kind of sources.
And why do you think that a global one, like a global wealth fund, like you were discussing, like a sovereign fund for the world, why do you think that would be important?
Well, because well, basically because it's possible. It's easy. We are all contributing to the United Nations. We are all contributing to all kinds of transnational organizations. So why not contribute to a global wealth fund that will be sustainable also for the generations after that come after us? And we don't need to, you know, help the people in Africa to build schools. We can just give them money on a personal level, and they will decide if they need a school and, you know, start building it. The cash transfer programs are much more efficient and effective than all the other targeted subsidies and all kinds of programs that often have a very paternalistic entrance.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we say that, okay, we take care of humanity as a whole, then that is the easiest way to do that.
So what's stopping us? What are the individual and the collective breaks on us doing this from a bottom up and a top down perspective?
Yeah, what is stopping us? That's a very good question. Well, I think on the policy level, people really have to ask themselves, do we really sincerely want to solve the problem of poverty? Because if you really sincerely want to solve the problem of poverty, then you can implement a basic income and it is solved. From a community level, I think it has to come from an awareness that we are the 99% and we can really work together and collaborate and build networks, especially with the technology. I mean, we have the internet, we can communicate with everyone around us. So it has to come from yeah, an awareness that we are capable of helping ourselves. You know, the most valuable thing that we have is our time and our energy. And that's more valuable than money. You can't eat money, but you can use your time and energy to, you know, to grow your own food, to start your own local businesses. So I think we've gone away from yeah, we've been focusing we are too much dependent on you know, multinationals and globalization. I think we need to get back to ourselves, have an intrinsic journey, which, you know, here comes the spiritual conversation that you were going for. I mean, if you give people a basic income, I think people will have the time again to look and feel what they're here for, and then you will have more attention for yourself, and you will take care of your surroundings. That's the human race, right? We are all good people. We are not intrinsically motivated to steal from our neighbors. If we steal from our neighbors, then it's probably because we're hungry. So we cannot judge people on their behavior when you don't know the context. And if you see how many people are living in severe poverty, then let's take that away first. And then I will be watching with a lot of curiosity, and I can't wait to see it happen. And yeah, in fact, we are already trying to build blueprints so that communities can help themselves creating basic income, a little bit like the casino dividends, and with blockchain technology and local currencies, it can be done.
So do you think it's an issue of autonomy? Besides it being an issue of time, do you think it's an issue of people feeling they are not able to support themselves, or feeling that they have so many constraints that they are actually not able to fulfill or even discover what are their own goals behind everything that they have going on. And I'm asking this because Rosita mentioned my work is a lot on reciprocity. And one of the first veils that you seem to encounter on a basic income is this idea that no one should be granted anything if he's not willing to contribute, whatever the case it is, contribution. And I do think you might be right on the issue of autonomy, but then how does it play this notion of having to contribute, having to reciprocate in any way, shape, or form into the UBI debate?
Yeah, what a UBI does, it makes you think about what is work and what is contribution, right? It mixes everything up. There are so many people that are contributing in one way or the other. I mean, contributing to your own health is also a contribution, right? So what is a contribution, and do you always have to contribute? Maybe you are during, you know, every year and every week in your life. I haven't met any person yet that has the ambition to lie on the sofa for the rest of his life.
Me either.
You know, so it is about judgment on others. I mean, it's never about your own behavior. It's always about the other person that is not contributing well enough. And I think what a basic income gives you is, you know, if you in a basic income in the sense of just high enough to meet your basic needs, you know, that what you need to survive. No one has a right to stand between you and that what you need to survive. No one has a right to prevent you from having access to food, water, and shelter. So it's a human right. It's actually very simple. And if you give that to people, then they will contribute to their own well-being. And if they feel well, they will contribute to their direct surroundings first. And if they, you know, feel even better, then they might even have energy to take care of the broader surroundings.
Right. So that would be your take on the issue of climate change, or agree with you, climate is not the best, but would be the issue. That would be the standing that you would have when discussing the role basic income can have in ensuring that we preserve the resources for the upcoming generation in a sustainable way?
Yeah. Well, it could be. Yeah. Yes, I think it will. I mean, of course, we don't have the data yet. I mean, there's not any research been done for a long enough period of time to prove it. But if you reason that a basic income is the renaissance for the small and medium enterprises, right? Now, if you're a local company, then you are much more connected with the surroundings, or with the context, with the village or the town that you are operating in. And if you are not taking care of the environment, then your customers will come to you and complain. When the big oil companies are setting Nigeria on fire, who are they going to complain to, right? So smaller businesses in the context of the village or the town are much easier to approach when something goes wrong. So they will be more motivated to take care of their direct surroundings. And it's no rocket science that you should leave the forests as they are and don't cut all the trees away to make money. That's no rocket science. Everyone understands that we should reforest the planet, and we should stop throwing our plastics in the waters. And that is not rocket science. It's common sense.
And it's interesting that you discussed this issue of resources and of climate change in the perspective of, if we have smaller businesses, it's not only better because it has closer circular links, so you're not traveling to sell products or to get raw material, but also in the perspective of individuals demanding different behaviors from companies. I don't think I ever heard that, and it's a very good perspective, and hopefully you'll be able to do so. We had one last question before moving into the question from Facebook and also from other people of UBI4ALL, which I guess might be anxious to ask you more things. And it's more on a personal note, so feel free to skip it or try to deviate from it. But we wanted to ask you if you were able to, if you would be one of the lucky winners of our UBI4ALL raffle, and you won a UBI of 1 year of 800 euros, well, hopefully a lot of people throughout the year will be able to receive under UBI4ALL. What would you do? What would be the biggest project that you would do?
It's 1 year, 800 euros, right?
Per month.
Yeah, per month.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, then I would split it. Half of it I would give to my own organization, Mission Possible 2030, for a project that we recently started, which is called Hug Your Shadow, and where we give people in a village in Kenya a small basic income for a year. So with the 400 euros, I would be able to give 40 people $10 a month. So that's the first half. And the other half I would give to another project that I'm working on in India, which is called Self-Organized Learning and Innovation. And we've been doing this for a couple of years with our own resources, and I would finally pay the coordinator that is doing this with a lot of enthusiasm. Soma, if you're listening, she would receive the other half, which is 400 euros for a whole year, so she could, pay for her travel and her own expenses. And yeah, so I mean, for 1 year, I would immediately give it away, because I would not change my my work for now. I'm really happy with what I'm doing.
That's
and
great.
I don't really need it. Yeah.
That means you would multiply your basic income.
Yes.
So you'd have like 10 or 15 people receiving a basic income through your basic income, which is
Yes.
very, very good. Thank you for that. Thank you, Hilde. Roswitha, I don't know if we have questions from Facebook, but also here we have the team of UBI4ALL. I don't know if they want to ask any question before moving into Facebook.
Yes, we have a few questions. One can be answered quite easily. Will the video be available for replay after the session? Yes, it will. Then there are a few comments. Isabel Ruth wrote, the truth is that most people haven't even heard about the UBI concept. So that's also a question that arises with me from time to time, because we talk about it, we do things, we are active, we make events. So how can we get better, in your opinion, to promote the idea, to spread it really worldwide, that every, let's say, every second person on this planet has heard about it?
Well, I do think we have to step out of our bubble. We are talking a lot to people, that are already familiar with the concept. So we really need to go to the other groups that are not yet so familiar with basic income, and these could be environmental groups, human rights groups, or the people that are now really afraid of what's happening with the New World Order and talking about basic income as a threat. So we should really step out of our comfort zone and spread the word there, and go into the discussions with the people that maybe have their doubts a little bit more. So I think we've been talking too much to our own, preaching to our own church, basically. Mm-hmm. And it's also important, right? But and not only politicians, but the people on the ground, because politicians will follow what the people are demanding. Yes. And and I feel that the time is now, right? Because many people that have never thought of basic income are now, well, all of a sudden aware that either a basic income would have helped them, because they get some kind of financial support from the governments, because you know they have the small businesses that were closed down and they get some support, and they but others that are afraid of the new world order that is going to enslave us with with a conditional basic income. So the concept is now out in the open, so we should really be active and yeah, try to get our feet into their those kind of groups.
Yeah. There's another question going in this direction. Why isn't a big advertising campaign carried out to raise awareness of the collection signatures for the European Commission? Well, a big advertising campaign means also a big amount of money. So most of our associations are working pro bono or living on donations and so on. So this would be quite a good idea, no doubt about that. But if there's someone giving us the money, why not? Another question was concerning the state of the art of democracy. Is our political system ready for the UBI? What do you think?
Well, they ought to be. They should be. They should be ready soon, because we're going to build it ourselves if they don't follow soon enough. Yeah, well, I mean, for example, in the Netherlands, it's the first time that more than one political party is actually moving towards basic income during the next elections. So it's step by step, we're moving forwards. You know, in the United States, basic income is discussed, in Korea. So yes, of course, it depends on the context. But more and more politicians are aware that some form of basic income or something alike basic income is going to be needed. And we've seen the quantitative easing effects. That didn't work. So I think I think the politicians are ready, but of course the unconditionality, I think that's a tricky one. I think many politicians still want want it to be conditional. Mm-hmm. So that's us, yeah, right? We have to explain to them it's our right, right? It's a human right.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a human right.
Roswitha, let me just add something on the political discussion. What about unions, Hilde? What is your take? Because we have seen unions, at least in Portugal it is the case, but I guess I've read some things on other places in Europe, it's more or less similar. Unions are very resistant to UBI. What is your take on that? Or better, how can we move them into our own side?
I think I mean, in the Netherlands, it's not as bad as in other countries. There are quite a few unions that are more open to UBI. Okay. But I think that the reason why many unions are resistant to UBI is because they start from jobs and work as a mindset. And yes, and so that's their starting point. And I mean, UBI, of course, will not mean that people are going to quit their jobs, but the concept of work is different. Mm-hmm. When you talk about basic income. You talk more about, you know, activities rather than jobs. Work can be voluntary work. Work can be caring roles. So all kinds of work are appreciated when you have a basic income. And the unions, they come from jobs, from the concept of jobs. So I think that's why they feel resistance. But I think now, because, you know, there are so many people losing their jobs, and with a basic income, people can start slowly to come back into the job market. Even when you have a small job and a basic income, you can still, you know, feed your family. Mm-hmm. And the group of working poor is growing. So eventually the unions they will move towards basic income. It's inevitable. I mean, there is no other intervention that has so much impact as a basic income. It is so simple, and it benefits so many different people, and the effects are so diverse for every individual. There is no alternative. What else are they going to do? I really wouldn't know. Without, this huge machine of bureaucracy and control, and there is no alternative.
Okay, thank you, Hilde. Then let's go to the next question. When asking people given an unconditional basic income whether they would continue working, most of them, for example, in Germany, approximately 82% in 2016, say yes or yes under different conditions. But on the other hand, 50% suspect that the majority would not continue working and getting lazy. That is completely illogical. Why is this mistrust in others and or our investigating or overestimating? Why is it this mistrust in others and or overestimating ourselves?
And so basically what you're saying is that if people are asked what are others going to do, then they think they will stop working. And if they're asked what are you going to do, then they will say, yeah, no, I will continue to work, but maybe I will change direction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what's happening. I mean, if people think about others, then they have this feeling that they will be lazy. But they never answer that when they're talking about themselves. But when you look at the evidence, and I think Finland is the best country to compare it with, where they had the long-term unemployed people that they received a basic income for 2 years. And it was not a big change, but a big difference, but it was statistically significant that more people in the basic income group found a paid job. Including the people with young children. So it is an assumption that is not based on what we see in reality. In all experiments that we have seen, people continue to work, but they do sometimes change direction, right? Because it gives you the freedom to say no to an employer that doesn't treat you well. It gives you the freedom to get out of slavery that we saw in India. It gives you the freedom to stop doing the job that you don't like and re-educate yourself and do something else. So yes, people will change direction, but I don't see it as a problem at all. We're also so very afraid of what automation will do to the job market. So what is the problem, right? We are all afraid that the robots will take our jobs. So and at the other end, we are afraid that people will not be willing to work. So there is no problem in that respect. It's an assumption. It's about trust. It's about the way you look at people. Yeah.
And also a change of mind or change of perspective. That's the most difficult thing to do, to change one's own.
Yes, and it's also about why don't we just value all those people that are doing unpaid work? There are so many people that are doing unpaid work, women and men.
Yeah. So doing paid work, this takes us to finance. The question of Christoph, a question I often get when talking about UBI is, how can this be financed? There are a huge amount of models around how it could be financed. So what is your answer?
Well, nowadays they just print the money and they finance anything that they want to. But yeah, well, of course, it depends on the context. In my country, in the Netherlands, we have a big welfare system with more than 30 income-dependent subsidies. If you replace that with a basic income and a few tax adaptations, then you're there. If you look at the effects of a basic income, then it will give you, the crime rates will go down, health, your people will be healthier. So all these kinds of costs, these are never calculated in all the models that they use when they calculate the cost of basic income. People will start their businesses, so so the economy will flourish. Money is really not an issue. It just takes a little bit of guts to do it, because it's a huge shift of how you spend your money, your tax money. So it's a huge shift, and there's sometimes billions, but in the end, it will save you money because of all the poverty-related issues that are solved. All the other expenditures, all the targeted subsidies, and all the people that work in those programs that all have to be paid. So it depends how you calculate it, but money is really not an issue. It's a political will, and So it depends on the context. So I can't really calculate it for you in a general way, but. In almost every country, it is quite easy. If you take everything into account, then you will see that it will save you money.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. One question that comes from myself. I'm also engaged in women's business networks and so on. I'm a feminist, and many people all say, well, basic income, well, it's a good idea, but it's a good idea that women will be paid for having children, which are always denied strictly. And then they say, well, women then have the choice what to do with their life, and they will drag back from politics, from society, from economics, and they will leave it to the men. Do you see this as a danger for UBI?
No, not at all. No, I think the best example is what's happening in Kenya, where they also had the discussion. They sometimes have the discussion. Should we not give it to the women only and not to the men? But they gave it to. Fortunately, they gave it to both. And what you see is that the women and the men negotiate and talk about how to use the money in the household. There's less domestic violence. Women also start their own small companies. The same we saw happening in India. No. It will give women a boost, and they will be independent from their husbands, but they will collaborate more with the men than before, because it's leveled. That's what we see in India and in Kenya. Of course, here we don't have any examples for that, but I don't see any problems. That I don't think women are going to sit at home and do nothing. If they have young children, sometimes they choose to care more for their young children. But hey, is it a job when you take care of someone else's children and not when you take care of your own children? I mean, it's a freedom of choice, and some women will stay at home for a while and go to work at a later stage. Who are we to judge? It's a freedom of choice, and that's what it's all about.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any further burning questions here. Some comments, which we will then work on afterwards. Thank you for all your valuable comments. Is there, Helge, is there anything on Zoom, on the chat, which we should answer?
No, Roswitha.
Okay.
Maybe can I ask one other question again? I'm gonna take advantage a little bit of Hilde again. We have so many experiments like you were talking about from developing countries. We also have some from other places in the world. We have some from Europe and from the US. What do you think in some current ones and very recent ones on Europe, what do you think has led that many of these experiments with very good results, like we had in Finland, we had them in Utrecht, we had them in some sort of Barcelona too. Why hasn't basic income being implemented if the results were so good? Is it the same? Politicians don't want to solve poverty and communities are not taking advantage of the opportunity to develop by themselves. Why do you think evidence did not translate into policy?
I think it takes time. I think these kind of results will eventually result in politicians to decide to implement it. But you know, it's in most of the European countries we have different political parties that have to find consensus. It will take time. We need to push forward. We push. That's why the European Citizens Initiative is so important, to get it on the agenda of the European Parliament. And we as citizens need to push for a basic income, because it's a very logical thing to do. But for politicians, you know, when we don't cry hard enough that we demand a basic income, then it will not happen. So we as citizens need to demand it, and yeah. And I think we're very close. I mean, the lockdown. What we've seen in many countries is that governments basically gave a conditional basic income to many of the people that lost their jobs now. So they're getting used to the concept, and we need to push. So sign the European initiative as soon as you can, because we need to show the politicians that we as Europeans really want a basic income.
So you'll say you will have a basic income in a few months, in a few years?
Yeah, well, no, I don't think it's going to happen with it. Not another unconditional one. No, not in a few months. No, it will. Yeah, the political process is very slow, which is why I'm not very politically active. Well, not in a direct way anyway. But no, it will take several years probably. But there will be a country within a few years that will take the risk and be brave enough to do it. And as soon as one country has implemented it, then we will see the benefits of it, and it will be an example for the whole world, and other countries will follow. We only need one country that has the guts to do it, and we already know the effects, and it will be shown to the rest of the world, and so more countries will follow. So we only need one.
Right.
Then the question of power will very well fit to this. What do you think would be a good idea to start in a UBI in one of the microstates like Liechtenstein? I think the size of the state is, well, if it would be France, of course, it would be more, represent more people. But I think the domino effect will then be if one country starts and is successful with the UBI.
Yeah, it can be any. Yeah, it can be any country. I mean, you can do. Yeah, you can choose it by size, but you can also choose it by the poorest country, or it doesn't really matter. You can choose an island. You can you can just. It doesn't really matter. It's a political will. So which country is the closest to the decision,
Yeah.
and the emergency, is on the surface now, right? With the lockdown, and we haven't seen the worst thing yet. I mean, the next few months, it will be far more visible what the effects have been or are from the lockdown, and people will be in despair because they don't have any income anymore, and the food supplies will dry up, and so it will be evident that the only thing that they can do is implement a basic income, and if they don't do that, then there will be riots because of people in despair. So who knows? I don't hope that they will wait until we reach that stage, but the situation is quite severe, and not only in the global south, also in the Western countries. And yeah, so I don't think the politicians will have any other choice than implement a basic income, and I hope they do it before we reach that stage.
Yeah, that nearly answers the question of Alberto. He's saying, if it's not a question of money, why do you think governments have no interest in adding income? Maybe because it's a too revolutionary idea, but I guess you already answered it, and also a part of it before, because, well, they first of all, they have never done it, so it's not in their mind. We need to ask it, we as citizens, as the sovereign of the countries. And yeah, I hope we will not get to riots until they understand that it is really important to get the people the safe existence. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe governments are also a little bit afraid of that they lose control over the people, right? Because people, when they have their economic security, then they will do what they want to do, and maybe they are a little bit afraid of, you know, that they lose control of what the people are going to do. And but then, I mean, we can surprise them, right? Try us. Try us, and we will make you happy.
So on Facebook, I can find no new questions. As I said before, if we have passed something, we will sure give an answer afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, we are also coming to the hour. We don't want to take too much time. We have covered a little bit on climate change. We have covered work. We have covered the SDGs, some of the riots. We have covered governments and why people aren't doing it. Maybe just ask you, Hilde, do you have any final comments? It has been quite uplifting, which is good for our current times. So giving us the action and the agency to do stuff. But do you want to leave with the last message, something you would like to tell everyone out there on the ECI, on unconditional basic income, or UBI4ALL, or on their lives? What would be a last message?
Yeah, I think the ECI is underestimated. I mean, the importance of the ECI to be a success is very important to make it a success. So if you now understand that all the people that are organizing this are doing voluntary work without any resources, or hardly any resources, next to their job, everyone can help to make this ECI campaign a success. So if you are in favor of a basic income and ask your network to help us to campaign for this ECI, and don't tell us what to do, but help us to spread the word. And because, I mean, the people that are doing this are doing a great job, but we really have limited resources as a basic income movement. And maybe that is because of people think it's free money, so these people work for free, but the basic income activists are working very hard, but so help us and spread the word and make people sign in your own social media networks, in your own social media channels, any way you can. Right, that's it. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much for your time and for your precious input. And yeah, I think you gave all of us new thoughts and new perspectives. And thank you for your call for action to everybody. Yeah, that's what we need
Yes.
to get the momentum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
So